The ungrateful girl. In a small village called Iruokpe in Yoruba, Nigeria, there lived a young man named Akintola. Akintola was an orphan, but he was a hard worker and had a heart of gold. He fell in love with a beautiful girl named Toke, and he was determined to give her the best life possible. Akintola was not educated, but he wanted Toke to have a better life. So he sponsored her education. He worked hard to pay for her school fees, and Toke was very grateful. She promised to always be there for Akintola, and he believed her. Toke went to the university, and Akintola was so proud of her. He would often visit her, and she would show him around the campus. Akintola was amazed by the big buildings and many students. He felt happy knowing that Toke was getting a good education. Years went by, and Toke graduated from the University of Lagos. Akintola was overjoyed, and he threw a big party to celebrate. But Toke had changed. He had met new friends. He had started to forget about Akintola. She would often ignore his calls and would not visit him as often as she used to. Toke came to the village with a new man. She introduced him to her parents, and they were very happy. The man was educated and he had a good job. Toke's parents were proud of her for finding such a good husband. But Akintola was heartbroken. He had given Toke everything, and she had repaid him by forgetting about him. Toke and her new husband started making plans for wedding. They would often visit the village, and Toke would show off her new husband. Akintola would see them, and he would feel sad. He had loved Toke with all his heart, and she had broken his heart. On the day of the wedding, Akintola went to the ceremony. He saw Toke in her beautiful wedding dress, and he felt a pang of sadness. He stood up and he cursed Toke. Toke, you will never hear a cry of a baby in your home. Your husband will cheat on you recklessly, and he will bring infections to you. Toke was shocked, and she felt scared. She didn't know what to say. Akintola turned around and walked away. Toke's husband just laughed and said, "Don't worry, baby. We will go and pay him back for all the money he has spent on you." But Toke was not convinced. He felt a sense of dread, and she became really uncomfortable. After the wedding, Toke and her husband went to visit Akintola's house to try to make peace with him. But Akintola was not interested. "You should go and enjoy your marriage," he said. "I don't want anything from you." Toke's husband was angry, but Toke was scared. She knew that Akintola's curse would come to pass. Years went by, and Toke's life started to fall apart. She did not have any children for her husband, and her husband was cheating on her recklessly. He brought several infections to her, and she was always sick. Toke was miserable, and she did not know what to do. After some time, Toke's husband threw her out of the house. She went back to the village, and she started looking for Akintola. She wanted to apologize to him and ask for his forgiveness. After many months of searching, Toke finally found Akintola. He was living in the city, and he was very rich now. He had married a beautiful woman, and they had many children. Toke was amazed, and she felt ashamed. She knelt down and begged Akintola for forgiveness. "Please forgive me, Akintola," she said. "I was blind and I did not see your love. I am sorry for what I did to you." Akintola looked at Toke, and he saw the sincerity in her eyes. He forgave her, and he reversed the curse. "You will be happy again, Toke," he said. "You will find a good husband, and you will have children." Toke was overjoyed, and she thanked Akintola. She went back to the village, and she started a new life. She met a new man, and they got married. Toke was happy again, blessed, and she had children. She never forgot Akintola and the love he had shown her. She was grateful for his forgiveness, and she lived happily ever after. Tope's new husband was a kind and gentle man. He loved Tope with all his heart. He took good care of her. Tope was happy again, and she had two beautiful children. She never forgot Akintola and the love he had shown her. She was grateful for his forgiveness, and she lived happily ever after. Akintola, on the other hand, continued to live a happy and prosperous life. He and his wife had many children, and they were all successful and happy. Akintola never forgot Tope, but he was happy that she had found happiness again. He knew that he had made the right decision in forgiving her. Years went by, and Tope's children grew up. They were smart and successful, just like their parents. Tope was proud of them, and she knew that she had made the right decision in leaving her first husband. She was grateful to Akintola for forgiving her and giving her a second chance at happiness. Tope's children grew up and got married, and they had children of their own. Tope was a proud grandmother, and she loved spending time with her grandchildren. They would come to visit her and play with her, and Tope would tell them stories about her life. One day, Tope's grandchildren asked her to tell them about Akintola. Tope smiled and began to tell them the story of how she had wronged Akintola and how he had forgiven her. The children listened with wide eyes, and they were amazed by Akintola's kindness and generosity. As Tope finished her story, one of her grandchildren asked her, "Grandma, why did Akintola forgive you?" Tope thought for a moment before answering. "Akintola forgave me because he loved me," she said. "He loved me not just as a person, but as a child of God. He knew that I was sorry for what I had done, and he wanted to help me start again." The children nodded, and they looked at each other. They knew that they had learned an important lesson from their grandmother's stories. They knew that forgiveness was a powerful tool and that it could bring healing and restoration to people's life. As the children left Tope's house, they felt grateful for the story she had shared with them. They knew that they would never forget Akintola's forgiveness and that they would always strive to be like him. Years went by, and Tope's grandchildren grew up. They became successful and happy, just like their parents and grandparents. They never forgot the story of Akintola's forgiveness, and they carried it with them throughout their lives. One day, oldest grandchild, a young lady named Adaeze, came to visit her. Adaeze was a kind and gentle soul, just like Akintola. She listened as Tope told her story about her life, and she was especially fascinated by the story of Akintola's forgiveness. Adaeze asked Tope, "Grandma, do you think Akintola's forgiveness was a miracle?" Tope thought for a moment before answering. "I believe that Akintola's forgiveness was a miracle," she said. "It was a miracle of love and kindness, and it changed my life forever." Adaeze nodded and she smiled. She knew that she had learned an important lesson from her grandmother's story. She knew that forgiveness was a powerful tool and that it could bring healing and restoration to people's lives. As Adaeze left Tope's house, she felt grateful for the story her grandmother had shared with her. She knew that she would never forget Akintola's forgiveness and that she would always strive to be like him. The story of Akintola's forgiveness was passed down from generations to generation, and it could continue to inspire and uplift people. It reminded them of the power of gratitude, love, and kindness, and it encouraged them to always be grateful at all costs. As the years went by, the story of Akintola's forgiveness became a legend in the village. People would tell and retell the story, and it would inspire them to be more kind and compassionate towards others. One day, a group of young people from the village decided to visit Akintola's grave. They had heard the story of his forgiveness and they wanted to pay their respect to the man who had shown such kindness and generosity. As they stood at Akintola's grave, one of the young people asked, "What can we learn from Akintola's story?" Another young person replied, "We can learn the importance of forgiveness. Akintola forgave Toke even though she had wronged him. We should strive to be like Akintola and forgive those who had wronged us." The group of young people nodded in agreement. They knew that they had learned an important lesson from Akintola's story. They left the grave determined to spread the message of forgiveness and kindness. And so, the story of Akintola's forgiveness continued to live on, inspiring generations to come. It reminded people of the power of forgiveness, love, and kindness. The story of Akintola's forgiveness came full circle as it brought the community together, reminded them of the importance of forgiveness, kindness, and compassion. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment about the story, like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on your bell notification so you get notified when an interesting story like this drops. See you in the next video.